is in our eyes. Primitive urge, feel the primitive urge. The senses in the air. The fire moves us. The pleasure yearn. Hunger is rage, need is the vision underneath your dress.
Sex, lust, you.
Sex, lust, you. There's a river,
love,
our bodies melt. Liquid heat, burning tongues, whisper screaming earth.
drum,
The pulse, the passion,
thrust,
so strong and hard. Love and success, twisted, mixed up. Red nails trace the flesh.
sex, lust, you.
Sex, lust, you.
All set. There's even a full moon tonight.
It begins as a game.
There must be a sign.
We feel a presence here.
Let's get out of here.
And ends with death. Pray for them. They have unleashed the power. Rated R.
Starts Friday at theaters and drive-ins near you. Check newspapers for listings.
It's twice the fright of the first night. Fright Night 2.
It's happening again.
They're back. And they want more than blood. They want revenge.
It is war. We must prepare.
So you thought Fright Night was the scariest. Think twice. Fright Night 2. Rated R.
Yes, next week on the Drive-In Asylum double feature, Roger Braden from Valley Nightmares will be joining us for Fright Night 2 and The Power from 1984. Stunning monster movie on the Drive-In Asylum double feature. In the meantime, please help us deal with the aftermath of Bad Dreams from 1988. I'm sure we got lots to say about it, right?
Sure do. I'll let our guests go first.
Straight negligence and part of on the hospital's part. So much was wrong with that. I sort of wish I didn't see the TV spot that just claimed it was another Nightmare on Elm Street, because it kind of, I don't know, it diminishes what it is. I thought that it was a lot deeper than just, a killer that shows up in your dreams, because like that's not what happens in this movie. He's not showing up in your dreams. There's a little twist at the end, and I think that it has more to say than just, not to, say that Freddy isn't scary, but I think that like there's real life terrors that are even more scary. But I'm glad I watched this one. Yeah.
I think the idea that like all of these patients are kind of looking for some kind of love in their lives, and that's kind of what the cult members of Unity were looking for too. And that's kind of what he keeps using, especially on her. She's like, I'm the one that, kept everybody from fulfilling their purpose. And he keeps telling her that. And, even almost up until the end, like she just wants to die so she can be part of this great working that they did. But then doesn't realize until the end that, all the control's been taken out from her with these drugs and with the way that she's been treated her entire life.
Yeah, I was gonna say not even just within what was happening at the hospital, but even back when she was in the call 13 years ago, when she was literally like a child, like she was a kid, and no one should be put through that. It definitely had like some dark stuff to say, and that was the second time I had seen it, and I just watched it a week or so ago for the first time, and even on this watch there was bodily harm and things that happened that like genuinely were shocking me, even though I just saw the film. So I think it's pretty graphic. I'm guessing when it played up all night, it just played the version that we watched. It wasn't cut or anything like that, which is pretty surprising, because I think that it has a lot of blood and gore and tough scenes to get through.
It's pretty violent.
Yeah.
A lot of the violence too, like the scalpels to the stomach, they're like not fancy violence. They're really like gut churning violence. Pardon the pun. Like they're gross. The original ending too has Beresford killing himself. Then Cynthia and Dr. Kamel go back to Unity Fields, where she has a vision of all the cult members as they welcome her back. But the last moment, she stabs Harris with a dagger, and they drive away from the house. But then there's like a scare where you see a skeletal hand grab the dagger at the end.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love a skeletal hand.
Yeah.
At the end, like Ruby.
Yeah. The thing I think
Poor
that surprised
Ruby.
everybody the most was Guns N' Roses showing up at the end sting. Everybody was like, everybody on our end was like, what? And there was
I'm
originally
still
a
reeling about that. How was that movie in the end credits to Bad Dreams? That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, they originally were going to shoot, you know how they always had the movie tie-in videos, where Sweet Child of Mine with scenes from Bad Dreams in it, and it just, at that point, Guns N' Roses was way too big for this movie.
Like, fuck you and your little movie.
It's a little different than them showing up in T2. Another kind of connected to Gail and Heard. Maybe she was super into Guns N' Roses early. Before anyone knew who they were.
Yeah, that when they just like hit the end credits and that song starts, my mind was blown. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I was looking through some contemporary reviews of this movie, and Roger Ebert hated this movie beyond belief. He gave it a 0.5 star out of 4. He said, I praise the production only to suggest that the people involved will be better employed in worthier projects. It's not surprising to see a violent teenage movie exploit the lowest common denominator and preaching a message of nihilism and despair. It is not surprising to see the latest special effect technology supplying lingering close-ups of burnt flesh and other horrors. What is surprising, I suppose, is that nice people would want to wade in this sewer. So, if you like this movie...
Oh, Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
How about his pearl clutching?
E.G. Daily is in this movie for like 30 seconds. Like, she's pretty well known. She's Dottie from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. She's Tommy Pickles' voice. You know, she's done a ton of stuff, and she's only in this movie a couple seconds. And almost unrecognizable in the part that she's in. But I think that scene when she drowns is really upsetting because it's not just drowning, like blood comes out of her mouth. So it's a very violent drowning from that back.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
Which is
think so
great.
too.
Yeah. I love that where
And
just a little bit of red's coming out of her mouth. And the other thing we talked about too is like there's a lot of really cool scenes where they don't use special effects to get across the things that are happening in their minds, but like when she's going down the hallway and then all of a sudden she's in the hallway and she's in Unity Fields at the same time. There's some really cool like little tricks like that to kind of
Yeah.
show where her mind's at.
Yeah, I love that shot walking down the hallway, like being escorted to like a secluded, I don't know what they call that, but like a secluded room, and then she's picturing herself back
that was amazing.
back in Unity Fields, and then I noticed it, and then everyone else started noticing it. But when she wakes up, there's I don't think it's that scene, but there's a point when she wakes up and she's waking up in Unity Fields, and she's posed just like this classic painting. What was it called? Christina's Fields.
Christina's World.
Christina's World. And the artist of that one had said that the painting is actually more like a psychological landscape, and it's more about your mind, your state of mind, than an actual place. I think that has a lot to say with all of the psychological stuff that's going on in the film. And it's such a short thing, and I was like, oh, I picked up on this, and then like Sam's wife picked up on it, and like I was like I knew it just wasn't me.
I love the scene in the elevator in the beginning too, when the first time she sees him again, and how horrifying he is to her, and like everyone in the elevator is already freaked out because the claustrophobia of the elevator is already frightening, but that doesn't bother her. When she starts seeing his face flip in between the lights,
Yeah.
it's really intense. I kind of like the idea too that she's alternatively terrified of him and wants his love, which is kind of how cults or love or different things work. Like she's very torn between what's going to happen to her.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of deep in parts of it. Yeah.
She makes a very good heroine. I think she's appropriately vulnerable, and yet there's something about her that makes you root for her. And she has fabulous bangs after she woke up from a coma for how many years?
Yeah. I like Gilda a lot too, because Gilda literally, she's the only other one that can really understand that she's seeing Harris. And
She says all this crazy stuff, and she's always right. She's the one that's right.
I like that she's like, you know what? I've been keeping this formaldehyde on my nightstand just for such an occasion. It smokes. It's a different formaldehyde than you've ever seen before, but I'm going to drink the whole bottle.
Again, negligence. Like, why isn't that stuff locked up?
It was the weirdest hospital I've ever seen.
There were no rules. No rules.
No, and even after people are dying, it's like, maybe we should amp up the security. And nah.
No. They're not changing one thing about how they do anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say they even made they had that kill switch that opened up all the doors. Like they didn't even think put that under lock and key or anything. Like, no, let's just have this one switch that opens up every door in the establishment.
Why would such a thing exist? I don't know. Maybe for a fire drill?
Yeah.
I also learned that if someone gives you a hit off their booze and says, let's put our heads into this fan, maybe don't do it. Also, this is another movie where all of a sudden the press just shows up and starts asking questions. Like, you know, the press is there just like at the end of Stage Fright. They just suddenly show up. And I just saw that Steve said, like, the reporter's like, did you set the coma record? And someone writing the script had to look it up and be like, no, someone was in a coma for 37 years once and they made it out. It's like, man, because you know that some producer asked that. There was like a producer note or a studio note, like, we should let people know how long people have been in comas, and this can happen.
Mm-hmm. And that they also really did their research on the medical field.
Yeah.
But just not anything else, like security or locking up the supplies or...
There's a lot of cut scenes from the scene where he dreams of hitting the doctor with the car too, the evil doctor. That like almost got them an X rating, and that was another big fight that the director had with the MPA. He wanted it to be even gorier, and it's Becca said when we were watching, she's like, "Why is this scene so funny?" It really seems like out of the blue that it almost turns into an Italian movie where he's just randomly hitting a guy with a car over and over again.
Yeah.
It was like in
Who's Dean Cameron?
The kid who cuts himself and
Ralph.
Yeah.
Oh, so he got that because when he was knocking over those shelves, there was a box of scalpels.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
Again,
Those two
this
incidents
horrible
were connected.
hospital. They're like, where do we should probably throw all these. You know how there's those sharps things that are in every hospital where you throw things in? They're like, let's put these with all the records.
Let's put them in a box in the basement.
Yeah.
That
Also,
was where
like-
Michael Myers' secret file was hidden, where it revealed Laurie was his sister.
Yeah.
It
Also,
was right
if
next
this-
to all that shit.
This kid has repeatedly hurt himself, and they keep everything dangerous away from him, but he has a coffee pot in his room that he could easily burn himself or hit cops in the head like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a random knife too. Yeah, the knife he was stabbing himself in the hand. He just found that one too.
Oh yeah, that was like a knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe one of the nurses gave it to them.
It was a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
That's one of the bonus scenes. If you get the new Blu-ray from some high-end label, you get a scene explaining that.
I did like that common room where they had those therapy sessions. I thought it was really pretty.
I like that. If someone told me to scream into a pillow, I would scream just like our lead. I would just be like nuts. Like everybody else is like, and I'm like, no, this is.
Would it be a high-pitched scream?
Shout, let it all out. That was
like Bad Dreams. Like that
yeah, it would be a Bad Dreams one. I would dream of
Bad Dreams.
Richard Lynch trying to burn my whole family up. I like that she said like a wind carried me over everything and hid me. Whenever you see that part, and that's all the part of the house fell on her, and that's what protected her from all the fire, which is movie science bullshit. But somehow she came out of the fire.
Let's face it, it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
But it was interesting bullshit. I thought it was I thought it was really kind of scary, but it wasn't like scream scary. There wasn't like, I like the scene in the elevator where you first see him, like you said, Sam. That was kind of scary, and there are a couple other shots in the movie, but overall it was just like the overall creepiness of it, especially like the sort of insinuation, like we know that that's her father, like that really ups the creep element 100%.
Also, like the scene where she sees the actual people getting caught on fire, there's baby noises, there's like, it's a very intense scene. Yeah. And then like when his face is on fire and he's talking to her, that's like that's a non-CGI effect. Like that effect took a lot of work to make happen, and he's talking while flames are pulling his face apart. That's an amazing scene. I've watched that scene a couple times. It's really intense.
That's the thing that's really the creepiest to me in this whole film, is that this is about a situation that was like Jonestown and, the Halley's Comet cult. These are cults that the adults got involved in it, but the kids were involved in it too and ended up dead for this like fucking bullshit. It was about nothing, and it was just like adults being weird and being in this like weird cult. And this movie tapped into that very well, because she was sort of a survivor of this. She had emerged intact.
That scene where he's holding the match while he's covered in gasoline, and there's that long pause where he's talking about love for a second before he drops it. Like, that's really intense. Like that feels like, I just watched the Jonestown doc on Hulu, and it's like, it has the right feel of it. It's that kind of intensity.
Yeah, I think that's what makes us, a little bit more jarring and disturbing than some other.
Other than the supernatural stuff, I mean, that part could happen, like Bill said.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's the frightening part of this to me.
It did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer
So
third segment. Uh, we
yes,
have to we have to pull this out of the negatives here.
yeah,
You want to talk about sad songs?
yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, we were going to talk about that.
More bummers.
What is this sad song that you came up with for the third segment?
So this, I put my partner to work on this because he has good music taste, and I figured I'd put him. And he sent me a text, which actually it comes full circle. And he said he had texted me what his pick was, and then apparently this is before the Guns N' Roses ending played. But after that played, I was notified that the song that Josh picked, Guns N' Roses covered it years later in the 90s. So sort of a full circle thing. So the song is "You Can't Put Your Arms Around Me," Arms Around a Memory by Johnny Thunders. It's a sad punk song from 1978. Most famous single from an ex-New York Dolls guitarist in the throes of heroin and heartbreak.
That is a great song.
Yeah, so that's the
Johnny
pick. And then
Thunder.
the Guns N' Roses covered it in the 90s. So
That's a Duff one that he would always do. I think he still does that on stage sometimes. Like 'cause everybody in Guns gets their own section when you see them live. Like Duff always does a punk song because he's the punky gun. Kind of like there's like the fun monkey. He's the
punk
gunner.
I want to be the fun monkey.
Yeah, who is the fun Peter Tork? Who is the fun monkey? I don't know.
I don't know who wasn't fun in the monkey.
All the monkeys are fun. Yeah.
It's a bullshit.
It's like
question.
it's funny because my mom, I found a bunch of her Beatles books when she was a kid, and it's like all the other girls in her class like wrote their favorite Beatle. My mom's was always George because he was the religious, introspective one, and I'm like she's like everybody liked John and Paul, and I figured nobody liked George. I said, well, nobody liked Ringo. She goes, nobody liked Ringo. It's you had to pick George. That was the only other one. Now she likes Ringo, but I just find that amusing of which ones to, does that, it's like one of those personality tests, of which of the Beatles do you like? Which one do you like, Bill, if you had to pick one?
Oh,
that's a hard question.
It's gotta be John.
Yeah.
I don't know, but as soon as I say John, I think Paul.
Yeah.
I do like Wings a lot, but more than I like the Beatles.
I do, but Paul also
Linda
wrote
McCartney,
that horrible
genius.
Christmas song. So Having a Wonderful Christmas Time, which is the worst song ever written. So
yeah.
And my brother tortures me every Christmas. I start getting phone calls with him playing it around October of him singing it and stuff. So
you will not find any song in the Beatles catalog, Sam, that anybody would call the worst song of all time. Not even Wild Honey Pie.
I like that song.
Nobody would call that the worst song ever. But if somebody would call Having a Wonderful Christmas Time the worst song of all time, I think that's an achievement. I don't
know if it's the worst song. It's like people say this is the worst movie ever, and I watch movies and I'm like, this movie's way worse than any of these worst movies ever. I watched a movie this week, Matilda, a movie about a boxing kangaroo with Elliot Gould in it.
Oh my God.
You know that movie? Jesus Christ. Diana, in this movie, have you ever seen that, Matilda? So for this movie, they decided instead of getting a real kangaroo, they'd get a suit made. They didn't spend any money on it, and the kangaroo makes the most horrifying noises. It's a whole movie of they pimp out this kangaroo to be a boxer, and the mob decides to hunt the kangaroo down. It's a kid's movie. It's not a kid's movie. It's very upsetting. Yikes. It's probably the most upsetting movie I've seen in a while.
Oof.
Vince, I know you love Matilda. You've talked about that before.
I know that Chris hates it because Chris put a message up. He's like, whoever did this movie is a horrible person. It's a nightmare fuel.
It got such a strong reaction out of you, Chris Fasonic.
He left some of the best comments I've had on the site in a while about it. He's like, this movie. One of my clients actually told me, he's like, the next time you write about bad movies, and I'm like, well, that could be tomorrow. He's like, you should really watch Matilda. And it was on the CBS late night movies. I'm like, sure. 10 minutes in, I texted him. I'm like, fuck you. I hate you so much. Like, why did you this is even rough for me to get through. Like Robert Mitchum's in it, who's one of my favorite actors. And how can this not be good? He's a Night of the Hunter. He's great. He's barely alive in this movie.
Mm.
Yeah, so
I watched Matilda on HBO probably in the summer of 1980, and I was staying with my cousins in North Carolina, and we would watch. We would have a big sleepover on Friday nights and watch a movie on HBO. One week it was Matilda, and the week, like somewhere around there, we watched Piranha on Friday night
oh,
or Saturday night on HBO.
I would say Matilda is more terrifying as a child than Piranha. It really
Yeah.
feels like, yeah,
It shook me to the core.
yeah. It's a rough watch. But I made it. I think I
don't
feel
wanna see
stronger. Yeah, you don't need to. Please don't watch it.
Speaking, but I want to circle back to the Beatles song.
Yeah.
Josh just told me that he got kicked out of a bar. Actually, I've heard the story before. Because whenever we hear it, that he got kicked out of a bar for playing "Wonderful Christmas Time" multiple times in a row, and the owner threatened to kill whoever was responsible.
Oh.
Okay, when that's an attack.
Yeah,
more than once in a row.
Multiple times.
There's
that's an organized attack.
The comedian John Mulaney talks about when he was a kid, he would always play "What's New Pussycat" 20 times in a row in bars, and like the trick is after the 5th time, play a different song. He's like, because you see everybody say, "Oh, thank God they stopped playing it,"
Yeah.
and then on the 7th song, when it comes back to "What's New Pussycat," just the realization that people are stuck hearing it again. I saw a guy do that with "Wicked Game" once in a bar, and he was hugging the jukebox, crying. He played "Wicked Game" like 10 times in a row, and they finally had to unplug the jukebox and lead him outside. I guess he's like, it was him and his wife's song. Ugh.
Wicked Game. What a
Wicked
depressing
Game.
song.
Yeah.
That relationship was doomed.
Yeah.
From the
That's our
beginning.
song, "Wicked Game." Oh, okay.
That was their
Our wedding
song.
song is "Wicked Game."
You guys want to look at some ads from the
Yeah.
page again?
Yeah.
Here's a great one. Stark raving mad with "When the Screaming Stops" and the school that couldn't scream.
Oh.
Sam.
It is What Have You Done with Solange?
Yes.
Yeah. I like that they say you've survived Halloween, you made it through Night of the Living Dead. But are you ready for when the screaming stops? But also the school couldn't scream, Bill, we do have to say, aka the Rah Rah Girls.
It's not like a comedy.
No.
It's a comedy.
It's not a sexy movie either. I mean,
No.
there is sex in it. It's horrifying.
AKA Come Teach Me.
Come Teach Me.
That's
Yeah.
the weirdest one out of
Yeah.
all of them. You thought the Rah Rah Girls
Oh.
was weird. How about Come Teach Me?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all about the sex. It's not.
It's like you said, Bill. It's one of those movies where like if audiences came to get titillated by it, and then they were just destroyed by it. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stark Raving Mad. That was one of those movies that got additional stuff shot for it. And I think the opening scene was, or no, wait, I'm thinking of Stone Cold Dead,
yeah.
where Linnea Quigley shot a shower scene for like the first 5 minutes.
I was thinking about that because there's that other movie, Bill, that Visual Vengeance has of her that's unreleased, Scream Queen, and it's
Yes.
like, how many movies was she shooting back then? And there's some that have never come out.
She worked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was busy back then.
I think she's one of the most fascinating figures
Mhm.
in Hollywood, if you want to call it Hollywood. She's not a mainstream star, but I think she's really got a great story. Does she have an autobiography?
I don't think so. She has a workout video. I do know that.
Oh, I bought that on the Blu-ray for
Did you?
The TerraVision one.
Yeah, the Terror version of Vision One.
Yeah. There's a cassette of the soundtrack too.
I know, I saw.
Did we say that When the Screaming Stops is the Lorelai's grasp?
We did not. I just listened to a show discuss that. Unsung Horrors talked about it, and they're like, it has some of the cheesiest claws ever, but it's also a great. We watched it on the show, and I love that movie. From same director as Blind Dead, right?
Yeah, Armando de
Armando
Osorio.
Osorio. Yeah.
That's just amazing to me. Like when you say Armando de Osorio,
Yeah.
immediately I think of monsters that look like marionettes
Yeah.
or just some sort of ridiculous, not convincing special effect. And that's totally the Lorelei's grasp, because the monster tears into these female victims whose bosoms turn into cake
Yeah. It
when they
rips one
claw
off.
open
Like
the
it's
cake.
impossible.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I guess by some standard, that could be considered really gory. And
I
that's
like
how
that
they
people are like,
marketed it.
this ad makes a lot of claims. It's like Halloween was rough and Night of the Living Dead's pretty rough, but the Lorelei's grasp is worse. It's not.
Yeah,
But
no, totally not.
try to make it. Oh, yes. Diane, have you seen this movie, Night School?
I don't think so.
It's kind of American Giallo-ish. It's also got a killer like stripped nude for your killer, dressed like a motorcycle rider. It's actually pretty interesting. Bill and I talk about it a lot because Bill, it's one kill away from being great.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it needed something really super gory and memorable that people would have been talking about after it was over. It's too laid back for its own good, because the competition was really about how gory your murders were. You had to compete in that market, and I think because they didn't have that, I mean, it is gory.
Yeah.
There are a couple of moments that almost rise to the occasion, but they really needed to ramp up the gore a little bit, and they didn't. Other than that, I don't know why more people don't talk about this movie. I think it's so good.
I think it's hard to find because it was a Warner Archive one for a long time that you had to get burn on demand, and it hasn't really played on like Shudder or anything. I think if more people saw it, more people would be excited about it. It deserves it, I think. Yeah.
I'm gonna add it to my like maybe future Jalo watch list.
It's
got
worth
an
a
itch.
watch. I'd be really interested to hear what you think about this
Yeah.
movie.
I think this would be one that you would be really into.
Cool. Done and done.
Awesome.
It has the right vibes, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh my God, this night though.
Yeah, nice.
God, this
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
De Palma freak out from Blowout to Dress to Kill, and then Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, wait a minute, that
$5
was
got you
first.
a lot that in Brewer.
Cronenberg was first. It was at 7:30.
Man.
But
My
still.
parents let me watch about 15 minutes of Dress to Kill, and then suddenly I was like, you should probably go to bed.
Oh, what a tease. You
Yeah,
don't do
and I was
that.
like, why? And they're like, because she's a bad woman. And I was like, then I got older. I'm like, no, she isn't.
She is not a bad woman.
No, she's just a woman in charge of her,
She,
her agency. Yeah.
She finally decided to step it up and finally go to seek satisfaction elsewhere. Unfortunately, she met Bobby in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
I love that whole museum scene. It's amazing.
Oh, it's stunning.
Oh boy. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake back up and show her this ad. Like, you gotta wake up. Also, all the marbles at the top too, which makes me super happy.
Yes. And
Yeah.
what else am I looking at on this
Looker?
ad? Looker. Yes.
Yeah.
Susan Day. I want it. I want it.
Man. God, what a great time and banger.
I know. Only when I laugh. That was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Do you think Steve King went and see Carbon Copy?
That was funny. I liked Carbon Copy.
Yeah.
Steve King probably went to the drive-in to see this kid.
Yeah.
I
like Steve King when he shows up in the trailer for Maximum Overdrive coked out.
Coked out Steve King.
Yeah, I'm really gonna scare you. Like, I'm gonna scare you. And I'm like, you already are. I haven't even seen your movie yet. You got me. Steve King.
How do you feel about Halloween 2, Diana?
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Most of the ones after that, it's not that they're forgettable, but I have a hard time keeping track of them. I'm probably overdue for a rewatch, but no, 2 is cool.
2 also has the a lot of Strange Vice kind of thing with the elevator scene in the basements, like the parking garage and that. There's like a little influence. It feels a little more Italian than the other movies. Or just maybe mean-spirited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when she climbs through that little window in the basement and it leads to another room, it's just like Suspiria.
Yeah.
Like, luckily for her, it did not lead to a room full of razor wire.
I think about that all the time. Like,
I do think about that occasionally. I'm like, whoa, whose idea
where did
was
you guys
that?
put all the razor wire in the school, in the dance school?
Oh, just in this room.
It's in the attic where it belongs.
Yeah. What is the business plan of your school? Kill everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The French lieutenant's woman.
Yeah.
I remember
I
that
love
one.
the fraternity poster that literally is the Uncle Sam poster that that he wants you to have his baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Burt Reynolds was the king here. This is before he was in way too many comedies and kind of took himself down.
Linda's in Paternity.
Oh, is she? Wow.
Yeah, she has a pretty big role in Paternity. She's who's the lead in that? Beverly D'Angelo?
Yeah, I think.
No, it's not her. I don't think so. Anyway, she's her best friend in the movie. She has a
Tracy
couple
brought
of
up Steve King's son Joe. That reminds me, one of his sons was a big GI Joe fan, so the Hasbro's really close, in New England. So Stephen King wrote the file card for the GI Joe bad guy Crystal Ball.
Oh
And
my god.
and in exchange, his son is named, the character Sneak Peek is named after his son. It has his real
Wow.
name is Stephen King's son's name.
Hmm.
Whoa, Bill, I wonder how would you pick here, Bill? This is literally a Sophie's choice for you. Which of these two movies would you pick?
No.
I hate that you can only pick one, but this is a rough one.
Well, the obvious answer is I'd go back on Sunday for
Yeah.
whatever movie I didn't see on Saturday.
You
But
would just stay all day Saturday and Sunday, like the whole weekend. Where's Bill? Oh, he's at Main Coast Cinema.
Well, does that mean that Cinema 1 is playing at 7 and 9 and Cinema 2 is 7 and 9? And then you could maybe go from 1 to 2?
that's true. Yeah, they
Yeah.
seem to both be starting at the same time. So you could
Yeah.
Unless
easily-
they're not. But if they are, then maybe you could just hit one and then the next one.
Yeah,
This
you
really
could
feels
easily
like the
do it.
best. If only the Bat People was playing as a support feature for both of these, this would be like, or Frankenstein AD.
Or
These are like,
Bob.
if you would say pick two films for Bill, these would probably be the two I would pick.
Don't Go Near the Park.
Don't Go Near the Park. Yeah, that is true.
Halloween Part 2. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, Vice Squad. Come on.
Ramrod beat the shit out of me.
I like the absence of malice, like a completely classy movie, and then they're like, oh, by the way, Vice Squad.
Ghost Story was kind of a bummer. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm
I
not
like that
crazy
movie
about
though,
that
but it is a
movie.
bummer. Hey, by the way, it's football spouses night because marriage is horrible. That's what this ad says to me. Football spouses night.
Oh yeah.
Women don't watch football at this point in our history. That didn't happen.
Well, they
So-
did say spouses. It's not
Oh, yeah, I
gender
guess-
specific.
I bet there were a couple guys that showed up and they're like, "This is the night to go to the movies."
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the football spouses are out.
Their spouse was another guy, though, probably.
Yeah. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, Taps is a perfect 10. Ask anyone who's seen Taps; they'll tell you it's a perfect 10.
Ask
It's a
anyone.
weird statement. Like a what?
Don't you love that?
Yeah, it's a what?
Ask anyone.
Ask
Ask anyone.
That is a
Literally
Gene
ask
Shalit where he's
anyone.
like, ask anyone, like Gene Shalit says.
I asked Diana, and she said that Taps was definitely a
Yeah.
perfect 10.
That's that's my quote on there.
Yeah,
She could not stop talking.
I didn't
about
sign
Taps.
off on that, so
yeah.
we have problems.
Ripped from the headlines. I don't know. Ghost Story was just kind of okay.
Yeah. It's got good effects though. I like that part.
Yeah.
I would probably pick Vice Squad over anything in here though. I think, that really feels like the movie to go see in a fancy theater.
Taps scared me when I was a kid. I was
Yeah.
like, they're gonna take me from my life and force me into a military academy.
That was a
content.
nightmare I had too. My parents were super hippies. that they would suddenly decide to send me to military school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another view of that same fantastic lineup at the Brewer Cinema Center.
Oh.
Okay, so we're back at the beginning.
Do you see that when you go through these, there's any theaters that have like the same format like week to week? Because I noticed like a lot of those don't have like the same layout, where they're just like popping in, you know, like interchange, like changing whatever the movies are, changing them out.
Yeah, there's a lot of theaters that fall into that pattern where they just end up they're not getting new releases anymore. I'm talking about drive-ins mostly, and they wouldn't be getting the new releases anymore. They'd just be showing stuff that they could rent from the Film Depot. And a lot of drive-ins went porn around that time. You know, they would just to get audiences in there, they started showing adult films.
Right.
But
like physically looking at those layouts, do you like, are there, I don't know, do you feel like certain like drive-ins or certain theaters, like they're really like changing it up or putting an effort when it comes to those ads, or like there's just like a standard ad that they're just using week to week and they're just changing like the promotional art?
I think they were just working with what they had.
They're just throwing it together.
This is what was being offered to them at the time. You know, they didn't really choose it for any particular reason, even though now we look back on that stuff and we see reasons to curate it and ways that we would put it together in retrospect. But at the time, this was just what they were, anything that they could program for their drive-in or their theater that showed double features, you know, second run theater.
Like last week, we showed a double feature that played a lot of drive-ins with Horror of the Zombies and what was the second one? Yeti versus the Werewolf. Yeah, but that played together. We saw a ton of ads where those played together, and it was like, oh, like they make sense when you see them, but like Bill said, they probably didn't intend to make any sense. Like today, like, you know, Mahoning and other drive-ins program these things, but it was just like, it seems cool to us now, and like, oh wow, that's crazy, and it's like, no, they were just trying to make money. Exploitation.
They're just throwing it together.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know the drive-in by me, they're doing currently, they're doing Barbie, No Hard Feelings, Legally Blonde.
Oh wow.
Maybe something else. I can't think of what it is, but like they're doing like kind of like a ladies feature.
Football widows night.
Ladies and
football, not football spouses.
Yeah.
Football girlfriends night.
We have a big drive-in night coming up in September, Bill. We have 2 nights of some awesome movies coming up, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, the Super Drive-In Monsterama at the Riverside Drive-In in Vandergrift.
Yeah,
it's an biannual event. Is it biannual when it happens twice a year? That's biannual, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, anyway, once in April, once in September, and I'm looking for the image right now.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to spring it on you, but I will say I was trying to think of what I'm most excited about, and it's probably going to be, I think it's 2000 Maniacs right now, because I've never seen that in a drive-in, and like I think that's the fun we talked about when we were watching. It's like getting to watch movies with folks, even like these small group that we have. Like the best thing going to this drive-in thing is so many of us sit together and what was the one movie we watched together, Bill, that was so good? Toolbox Murders. Like I love that movie so much more now that we all sat together and watched it together.
Toolbox Murders.
Everybody was so into Toolbox Murders. It made it so much better.
That was such a weird movie. Toolbox Murders. Here's the lineup.
Yeah.
Just fabulous. Blood Feast and 2000 Maniacs on Friday, followed by Impulse. That's the brand new Grindhouse releasing version of Impulse. It's all fixed up. A 1974 film starring William Shatner as a compulsive murderer.
Yeah.
And of course,
Shriek of the Mutilated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's I think, is that the movie you're most excited about, Bill?
I'm going to pretend to care about the other movies. But
Yeah.
Shriek of the Mutilated is really the big moment for me.
Grizzly too. Like there's a lot of Grizzly that I love. There's a sharksploitation doc on Shudder right now, and they quite rightly call out that Grizzly is Jaws. I had someone argue that with me in my comments on my site once. Like, it's a bear movie, it's not Jaws, and I'm like, you should probably go back and watch Grizzly then.
Yeah, but kids under 12 get in free.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, the other thing I will say, if you would come up for one of these, Diana, if you camp, it's very cold. I wouldn't camp, but if you do, there's a pretty good chance Tom Savini's going to make you breakfast. So, I mean, there's always that.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing more disconcerting than going to the bathroom and Tom Savini and Doug Bradley are next to you in the stall, and it's like, oh wow, I'm really high, and Pinhead is next to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fantastic night. I can't wait to see Piranha on the big screen.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first time I've ever seen Piranha like that. Not to mention Shriek of the Mutilated and Humanoids from the Deep. That's a really kind of brutal film.
Yeah.
And Diana, one of the weirdest experiences Sam and I ever had at the drive-in was when they did Giallo Fest a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And the first movie that we saw on the first night was What Have You Done to Solange?
I think I heard the story.
Yeah.
It was like a car full of kids.
Yes. And they bolted after the first 15 minutes. And it was just sort of like, you know, I felt bad because they probably went to that thinking they were going to see monster movies or something. Anyway, I hope they come back because the first thing they could see on Saturday night is a movie about fishmen that rape human women.
Or Blood Feast, a movie where Playboy centerfold gets their tongue cut out by Fudd Ramses.
Blood Feast is a mess.
Well, the worst thing about Humanoids from the Deep, and I wrote about this, I do love Roger Corman, but, you know, a female director did Humanoids from the Deep, and he cut in scenes that she didn't want to be in the movie. And yet he never gets called out during Me Too and stuff. It's like, it's pretty rough. Like, you kind of took her vision and put in horrifying things into it. And he's always like, well, my favorite Roger Cormanism is there were foreign investors that were asking for this. There were, like, what maniacs want? It's the same as Galaxy of Terror, where they're like, some foreign investor wanted a giant worm that assaults a woman. No, nobody ever asked for that. Like, show me the people that asked for that. Who Idi Amin asked for that? Like some crazed dictator from a foreign country. Like, that's not what we want to see. Oh, but I'm excited to see. I love 2000 Maniacs because it's shot right in Kissimmee, Florida, where is now Disney World, pre-Disney World, the happiest place on earth. Suddenly it's a Brigadoon town that shows up every 10 years and kills Yankees that come to visit the South. It's pretty great. I really like that movie, so I'm excited. I'm always excited for this, though, and now I got to start coming up with drinks. Though the first drink tonight, Becca said you should probably figure out a way of bringing that one to the drive-in this time because that was pretty good. Yeah, maybe a piranha-based drink will be good. And I do have one for Grizzlies. We showed Grizzly before, so yeah, I'll think of something.
Find something that you can use gummy fish for the piranha.
Yeah, probably for piranha, it's going to have Swedish fish in it. Yeah, there's Swedish fish vodka. I think there's every flavor of vodka. God, yeah.
Oh, Diana, Sam gave me my first drink of J&B, and it was just really, it changed my life and how I view Giallo.
Yeah. My favorite part of that one, Bill, is when we were watching what's the Fulci one that showed
Lizard in a Woman's Skin.
Lizard in a Woman's Skin, and the scene where the bat attack happens. Bill just looked over at me and goes, I love this movie so much. He's like, what? I have no idea what's happening, but it's so good. And he's like, nothing makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's really wonderful.
I was like, why is she getting attacked by bats?
That's why the American poster is amazing, because it's just the bat attack on the American poster for it.
Schizo or something.
Schizo, like yeah. And it's like, this doesn't have anything to do. Also, in that, I've seen that movie at least 10 times, and every time I'm still amazed by the ending of it. I'm like, really? That's what? Oh, okay. Like, and I just forget about it, and it just goes out of my head, and I come back to it again.
I think once I get my hands on a bottle of J&B, I'm just gonna have it on the shelf. Like I don't think
Yeah.
I'm gonna crack it open.
Purely
It's gonna be a
decorative.
prop. It's gonna be just like when I watch them and I note down like, oh, J&B spotting. Like it's gonna be just like on my shelf somewhere.
Yeah. There's a one I think it's Diodato movie, Waves of Lust, where there's J&B in every scene in the whole movie. Like John Savage drinks it nonstop through the movie to the point where you're like, how much like were they paying sponsorship for this? Because it's in this repeatedly.
I
It's
watched
also
a
in
couple.
The Thing is my favorite J&B show up because I'm like, is The Thing suddenly a show up? Because there's J&B in it.
Yeah.
Diana, is there a favorite Giallo that you have?
Of all time, mine's Tenebrae. Like that's my all time favorite. I really love Knife Plus Heart. Um, what's the All Colors of the Dark? I love that one.
Ooh.
I just love like a good F Jalo, so like the female fronted ones. Those are my favorite because there's not a ton of them. It's more so just like a man is the protagonist and eh. But I love just like getting into like a female psyche and of course I love Edwidge Fenwick. She's the queen. Yeah, I like those are probably like my top three and one of them's like newer. It's like a couple years old, so Night Plus Heart is amazing.
We showed Footprints and Identikit together one night, and that was a pretty cool double feature. Have you seen
Yeah.
Identikit yet?
No.
With Elizabeth Taylor in it, but it's kind of close to an F Jalo. It's pretty good.
Okay. Add that to my watch.
It's on Tubi. Yeah, and Footprints. Did you see Footprints, right? Footprints on the Moon.
No.
Oh.
Is that Mimsy Farmer in that one?
No, it's Florinda Balkan, isn't it?
Okay. No, I haven't seen that one.
So I do love Mimsy Farmer. I mean, Mimsy Farmer.
I'm thinking of Perfume of a Lady in Black.
They're very close to the same movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, it's like a woman who, but Strange Perfume of the Lady in Black has the darkest, I think, ending of almost anyone. Like it's such a nihilistic movie. It's wild.
Vince asked, "Where's the love for Crystal Eyes?" So we did shout Crystal Eyes out earlier.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but it is on the list, and I have a guest lined up. So whenever that guest has availability to be on, we will be talking about Crystal Eyes. So it's definitely on my radar. And I might have mentioned this hours ago when I first came on, but I tend to just review first time watches for the most part. So even though like I'm really looking forward to watching these movies, I usually hold off on watching them until like I'm going to review them for the month. So Crystal Eyes is on the radar. Same with Footprints on the Moon. Like all of these, I have like a watch list of like 150 movies that are like just like Giallo or just Giallo-esque recommendations that are TBD.
We kind of watched the Giallo together sort of a couple weeks ago because during the that last fest Obsession at Taste for Fear was the mystery film. And I wrote like no one knows how excited I am. And you wrote on Twitter like, yeah, I do. Like you're very excited. How did you like it? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super crazy. And we were just talking, I mean, you were on the podcast like a week or two before.
Yeah.
Talking about Too Beautiful to Die. And then you talked a lot about Obsession. And then I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so wild because it's just like, also Florence Guerin has been in so many movies I've watched lately. Maybe because I'm kind of at that era of Italian movies where it's like I've kind of run out of the 70s and 80s, so I'm now into like the early 90s, and it's like, yeah, she just works a lot as a heroine in these movies.
Yeah.
Identikit is one of my favorite why is she doing that movies.
Yeah.
Because the whole time you're like, wow, I don't understand why she's doing any of this stuff.
And Andy Warhol shows up as a duke for a couple seconds. Like, what?
Totally convincing.
Yeah, I really like that's a movie like I had no awareness of whatsoever before it came out on that Severance set. And after seeing it, I was like, what? Where's this? It's like my favorite. Like I only knew Liz Taylor from Tabloids.
Yeah.
So seeing it, I was like, oh, that's why people liked her. She's really good in it. And I just saw her in Dr. Faustus too. Another of my too many CBS movies. Bill, next week though, on the site, I'm very excited. Animal Attacks next week, and Island Claws is part of it. I saw some people shout out Island Claws earlier. That's one of the movies next week. It's kind of like all movies. Bill's like a lot of Killer Bee movies that I saw as a kid that really gave me a lot of angst. And then the week after that is going to be all movies from other countries remaking American movies. I discovered a Hong Kong version of ASYLUM Mars. It's really good.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we were talking about before a lot of Child's Play remakes and ROH, not Ring of Honor, but ROH, which is a Hellraiser remake from Bollywood Hellraiser remake, which is pretty rad. So I'm really excited about that.
Honor though.
No, I wish. Yeah, the code of honor is kept by Pinhead, and he shakes hands with you before he kills you. But it's pretty cool. See, we didn't talk wrestling too much. We saved it right till the end.
Wrestling.
Just talked wrestling. Even though the Stardom tournament's going on, we didn't talk about it.
No, I'm making a purchase. We're making a household purchase of Stardom merch soon.
Oh, okay.
It just came out with like a second wave of the Stardom like hip hop shirts.
Oh yeah.
Like every wrestler has like a cool like throwback 90s hip hop shirt, and we have 2 of them from the last time, and just kicking ourselves for not purchasing more of them. So now this round we're like, we need to get on it because it's the time to release. We have to get some Stardom.
Oh yeah.
Stardom merch.
I'm super excited. I got Severin gift cards for birthday gifts, so it's like the perfect gift for me. I was like, oh
nice.
Yeah, so I'll be saving them. I always feel bad because like I tell my sister-in-law, I was like, what did you buy? And I'm like, oh, something you'd hate, like a horrifying movie. The last they probably would like The Psychic, so that worked out. That was my last big Severin purchase, the 4K of Seven Notes in Black, which I can't wait till it gets here.
That's a good. I actually like that one a lot too. That one's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me, because this week was your birthday, Sam.
Oh yeah.
So happy birthday to you.
Birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. It was good. I bought a lot of G.I. Joes and I watched a lot of movies. That's what you do, right?
That's the perfect Sam Panico birthday.
The perfect birthday for me, yeah. Don't forget, if you want to write for BNS about movies in September, all month long, it's USA Up All Night movies. If it was on it, write about it. And October is all movies that played Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh, which is exciting. And then November is Mill Creek Sci-Fi Classics month, which is exciting. And Bill, I can't believe Diana's from Baltimore. Wouldn't even ask her about Ghost Host. You may have missed Ghost Host though. He was a TV host in Baltimore.
The cable access.
He was on UHF actually.
Yeah,
maybe before your time.
Oh gosh, what's the guys that make the UHF?
Mm-hmm.
Can't think. Chris something Martinez.
Oh yeah, he made.
I can't think. I can't think.
Yeah,
of
the two movies. Yeah, Chris Martinez is his name. Yeah.
I feel like there's some sort of ties with them, and yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's working on the third one right now too.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is
local
exciting.
Folks for sure.
Ghost Host was a horror host program that was on Saturday nights, and it originated in Baltimore, but they used to export it to Pittsburgh on our UHF channel here, WPTT. And the movies they showed in Baltimore were different than the ones they showed in Pittsburgh, by the way. But it was just like this shadowy figure who they would film. He was in different scenarios, like he was in a laboratory, then he was in a graveyard, and you would never see his face very clearly, so they could just record whatever voiceover they wanted.
Okay.
And he'd like tell you about what movies were coming the next week. And
he was also a cartoon kids host in Baltimore. He was Captain Chesapeake. In Pittsburgh, he was Captain Pitt. So, but the same show, but just would change it up.
Same guy, different outfit.
That's awesome. No, I don't. That sounds familiar, but I don't think I never didn't watch that one.
Yeah. I'm going through all the Chiller Theater movies that played in Pittsburgh, and it's amazing that like Eyeball played on it, Bird with a Crystal Plumage, like a lot of Giallo played on our late night horror show in Pittsburgh, and Bird with the Crystal Plumage played on CBS Late Movie too, which is wild. That was its US TV premiere. Was on the CBS Late Movie at 11:30 at night. I can't even imagine watching it on regular TV, but it happened, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Dianna Koch, we're so glad you hung out with us tonight, all the way to the third segment. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome. I always like chatting with you guys, and Sam and I have been chatting about Giallo for years, so long overdue, and it was a pleasure. So thank you.
We hope you'll come back sometime and watch some more fantastic films with us.
Sure. Yeah,
Make
maybe
sure
we can do like a listener or a watcher in the chat, like a vote on which Giallo.
Yeah. And don't forget to guys listen to her show. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts, as they always say.
Yeah, Giallo the Month Club is streaming monthly anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's on Letterboxd if you want to go back and find every movie that I've ever reviewed on the podcast, and the episode is linked. I also rate and review every movie that I watch on the podcast, and on social media at Giallo Club on Twitter and Instagram.
Right on.
And Bill and I will be announcing. I don't know if we're allowed to announce the other movie yet, Bill, that's out.
Wasn't it officially announced?
It kind of was. If it was on MVD's site, we can announce it, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be another Visual Vengeance movie that we did a commentary track for.
It could be, and it's coming out October 24th, maybe. And it might be. I asked Rob, could we say anything, and I didn't get an email back, and I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
next week.
Next week.
Tune in next week. It's one of Bill's favorites. It's a movie that made Bill laugh really hard a couple times during it. There's a scene in it. No one has seen this movie, but there's a scene where a guy jumps into a bar and literally falls through a wormhole into another room. And we're like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? It's pretty great.
It could be about werewolves.
Yeah, it could be about werewolves. And it could have been made in New Hampshire. And if you know shot on video stuff.
Shot on video.
Yeah, shot on video.
Ultra low budget, micro budget.
And what I'm excited about is the Blu-ray comes with a werewolf what do you call it? Air freshener for your car. Which is pretty excited that's part of it. And also don't forget the Abomination and Replicator, which Bill and I are on, also comes out in September. Also, Bill, I totally forgot. It was in the notes for the movie. I wrote the liner notes for the October movie, and I totally forgot. And it's like liner notes by Sam Panic. I'm like, who the fuck's that? Oh. And it's me. So yeah, I did write the liner notes for it. I was very respectful. I really we love all the movies Visual Vengeance puts out, but it's kind of wild where it's like these are like $500 budget movies, and the budget for the Blu-rays are like hundreds of times that. They put so much love into them and work and devotion into them. So wait till you see the artwork is amazing on these too. So super excited for it.
So keep on the lookout for that, and we hope you come back next weekend with Roger Braden from Valley Nightmares. We're going to be watching 2 more fantastic and Fright Night 2.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then. Till then, take care. Be well. Thank you, Dianna.
Thank
you. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.